President Trump makes his first visit to the United Nations. He will speak before the General Assembly tomorrow, but today, everybody's speaking about what they're expecting to hear. Then, did he hit a new low with this retweet showing him hit a golf ball into Hillary Clinton? We're talking about the president here. We'll take a look at some other lowlights from the ubiquitous Twitter feed of one Donald J. Trump. Then Maria bearing down on the Caribbean, and Jose threatened to impact our area. We will track the storms and also tell you what we ought to expect. Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. We're going to start at the United Nations and President Trump's first visit to the UN. Now, he met with some world leaders, also spoke about changes he'd like to make. President Trump spending his Monday at the United Nations with rapid-fire meetings on the sidelines of the General Assembly. During his debut at the diplomatic epicenter, Commander-in-Chief pushing for reform.
We encourage the Secretary General to fully use his authority to cut through the bureaucracy, reform outdated systems, and make firm decisions to advance the UN's core mission.
He also had this to say about his real estate across the street.
I actually saw great potential right across the street, to be honest with you, and it was only for the reason that the United Nations was here that turned out to be such a successful project.
The America First president striking a slightly softer tone with his anti-UN rhetoric on the campaign trail.
The United Nations is not a friend of democracy. It's not a friend to freedom. It's not a friend even to the United States of America.
Today, one-on-one meetings with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and French President Emmanuel Macron. The GA plenary coming amid a crescendo of tensions with North Korea. The U.S. calling for tougher action against a defiant regime.
If the United States has to defend itself or defend its allies in any way, North Korea will be destroyed.
And conducting joint military exercises with South Korea overnight. Usually at the UN General Assembly, there's at least one speech that's eagerly awaited, and it's usually from a foreign strongman or dictator who, frankly, nobody knows what they're going to say. Everybody remembers Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez calling President Bush the devil. That was back in 2006. Former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, he slammed Israel and the United States from that same podium. So the question is, will President Trump be this year's wild card? Well, joining us now, Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science at Iona College and also a senior advisor at the consulting firm Applied Techonomics. Dominic Carter, a political journalist and author, back from the lovely Newark, where he has sat in on yet another trial in the Menendez case. And Brad Gerstmann, political consultant and founding partner of Gotham Government Relations, and so much more. Okay. Jeannie, for me, it really is. People want to hear, because they don't know what he's going to say, Donald Trump. And if, God forbid, he goes off the prompter here, all bets are off. But it's between the candidate, the now president, the threats versus the reality. What will he do about the Iranian deal? Talk's a good game, but so far, his own State Department is verifying that they've met the Iranians. They have all the bogeys that were set up here in terms of, complying at least with their parts of the deal. Hasn't pulled out of that right now. Talked a lot about TPP. We haven't seen where that's gone. So NAFTA even, and threatened to get rid of it, hasn't done that. What's your expectations tomorrow? I mean, he already went after the institution a little bit today, in addition to humping, what is his hotel across the street. Can't make that up. What do you think we hear?
I think this has got to be the most anticipated speech of one of these General Assembly meetings we've waited for in decades, because this is a president who has gone on the attack against the very institution and what it stands for, and he's going to be before them tomorrow. And oh, by the way, Putin's not going to be there. The president of China is not going to be there. So he's got the stage pretty much to himself. And I think what we're waiting to hear is when he talks about America first, what does that mean when you're speaking to an institution that is about the world first? Yep. What does that actually mean? Because as you've said, he's attacked all kinds of things, from the Iranian deal to the Paris Climate Accord, and yet we hear inklings, every once in a while, even on Paris in the last weekend, that these things may be off the table now. So what does he mean by that? Can he define it? And how does he see America's role in the world? And, I have no problem actually today with reforming the UN. It needs to be reformed. I think everybody can agree to that. But this is about America's role in the world, and he seems to talk about it entirely differently than other Republican presidents have, or even Democrats. And yet, when he acts, he seems to act more like a typical Republican president. So I think we're waiting to hear how he defines his vision, and we still don't know that yet.
Don, for me, there's two competing, really interesting things. He has no worldview. He has no core political principles. I'm not even saying that as a complete negative. I mean, you'd think you wouldn't get to this stage and become the president without, but he'll trade or barter anything. But at the same time, he can't apologize. He doesn't have that in the DNA toolbox. He's said that this is a worthless institution that he's going to be speaking at tomorrow, okay? He's also said, and now you got the North Koreans calling him crazy, okay? And they've ramped up the rhetoric in the last few days. Again, I'm not even blaming him for it after what they're doing in Pyongyang. I don't know what he's going to say, but it could be a non-event, or he could decide to make some news and then heaven help us. What do you think?
My prediction,
Other than maybe giving a shout out to the Trump Tower across the street.
yeah, that was kind of weird,
really
and,
weird,
and tacky and whatever
Do you want
else.
to talk about your hotel across the street?
Now, that's funny, Professor. I think the professor is right in terms of, I really believe, Richard, we're going to see more. What Donald Trump said about the United Nations, just like what he said about Rubio and all the other candidates, was candidate Donald Trump. He's the president now. So I think he's going to act more appropriately, to use the professor's words, more like a traditional Republican president. I could be completely wrong. That's only my hunch. I don't think he's going to be a wild man and swing and attack the United Nations. What would he gain out of that except for throwing some red meat to his base? He's going to try as much as possible to look presidential, I believe, and that's a good thing.
But Brad, he's the same guy who said every country in the world, including Russia and China, by the way, signed on to the Paris Climate Accords. The only ones who didn't were Syria, Nicaragua, and the U.S. He'd have to admit he was wrong when he said that and be for it. I just don't see him doing that. But if you think about where we are right now, he's going to get up in front of the world, where we've got obviously crises that are still unfolding in certain parts of the Middle East. We see what's unfolding right now, obviously, in North Korea. And we're in this unique position where he says he doesn't want to lead the world anymore. It's just about the U.S. How do you navigate that? Because those are two completely different worldviews.
Yeah, but I think the president has shown what he is all about. He's
Well,
about
explain it to me, 'cause I haven't figured it out.
managing day-to-day issues in a day-to-day dynamic, fluid way. Meaning, what he said yesterday may not have anything to do with what happens tomorrow because the situation on the ground keeps changing. As far as tomorrow's event at the UN, I don't hold that up as any more than any other day for the president, because the president is seen on a world stage every single day. And what he says there is just going to be a matter of, throwing some, like Dominic said, some red meat to the
Okay,
base.
but here's the only thing. You and I both know. Unbelievably, we'll show it later. He retweets something where he's hitting a golf ball literally in the back of the head.
He's stuck on that.
Okay, hold on a second. And we now at this point collectively shrug. Any other president in the history of this country, we'd be going apoplectic. But this guy, we're like, another day with Trump. The world will not react so casually as him throwing a little red meat over there. Usually that's not what a UN speech is for.
It is what it is. He's not going to be the president that everyone wants him to be, meaning complete. When I say everybody that doesn't like him wants him to be. It's
Two-thirds of the country,
it's just a robot president. He's going to be himself. And the reason, he does some of these things on Twitter because he wants to get a reaction. He wants the press to go crazy on things like this. They want him to chase that. And inevitably the press does that. And so, it's part of his entire strategy. I'm not saying it's any kind of giant strategy that's all pulled together here, but he
That
just
should
says
be
if he
the
wants,
biggest understatement you have
if he
ever
wants
said,
to
yeah.
chase, have people chase, he gets them to chase, and the press does that. And he thinks in terms of the press every single day and twice on Sunday.
Frightening the living you-know-what out of me here.
You're
That's
not
what's
scared.
frightening.
You don't look frightened. You look as
I'm
calm
not
as you've ever
frightened,
looked.
but you know what? The idea that this is actually
But this is
orchestrated.
over. Oh, there's just too much drama involved.
That's his
There's
fault, Brad.
but there's nothing to worry about. It's all happening. Everything is the same. We keep moving forward.
All right. Well, I want to talk about the golf ball, and that's what we're going to do when we come back here. All right, coming up next, Trump with yet another unbelievably bizarro tweet. Now, Brad says I'm taking the bait, so I'm going to grab it with both hands. And this one going after Hillary Clinton, literally. Does this stuff even shock us anymore? Or have we reached the scary state in this country where it's almost expected? And also, what does that tell us about this presidency and this president?